Do we need to be nervous that all your readers are at almost record bullishness?
Yeah, it feels like everyone is tilting towards the same side of the boat, and we know what happens when people do that too often, Brian. But they're more bullish than a Garth Brooks concert right now, and we've been surveying them all year, and I've been talking to you about it all year. They've been bullish since this thing began. Even after the first sell-off of 20–30%, they were scared, but they were still fairly bullish, and they've remained consistent through the entire year, up until the election when they got a little bit scared because of the uncertainty. But now that that's behind us, and as you just mentioned, the great vaccine news is happening, we're seeing economic growth. They see an alternative. They don't see much alternative but stocks right now. They're as bullish as they've been, with 45% bullish, which is higher than the 17% who said, they're bearish right now. That's the lowest level we've seen since last April. So a very optimistic crowd here, as usual, who favor stocks and who think we have bigger gains ahead.
Do we know why? What's driving the bullishness?
Well, I think these are stock investors who have seen a lot of this before, but these aren't young people who are just getting in for the first time. These are folks who are in, 30 to 65 years old across the country. So I think it's the fact that there are vaccines, the fact that we see economic growth. We're starting to see the turn in the jobs market, which has been very slow so far. Plus, folks have been sitting on some pretty enormous gains from 2020 and 2019, and they think that that's going to continue because low interest rates, they see inflation coming, and they're a little bit worried about that, but stocks is where they've made their money, and that's where they think they're going to continue to make their money in 2021.
Yeah, we talked about the COVID risks, and who knows where this will ultimately go. There's a lot of scary talk out there still, and we could see all these surges, but cases now are down, and hospitalizations, thankfully, and your viewers suggest that more lockdowns or whatever are truly the least of their concerns. Give us the list of what they are worried about right now, Caleb.
Yeah, we asked them what their biggest concerns were, and that's way down on the list. So their biggest concern is political uncertainty under the Biden administration and what might happen in the next 3 to 4 years under President Biden. Their next concern, is some sort of a black swan event, or they're concerned about, potential bubbles and higher inflation. And then they're concerned about a black swan event, something coming out of nowhere like what we had in 2020. They're concerned about that. But in terms of COVID lockdowns, again, that is so far down on the list. It's such a surprise turn from what we saw earlier in the year, but it makes sense given the vaccinations, although, as we know, we're not out into the clear yet.
Yeah, not just yet, but at least I think we can see the finish line, or at least based on the data anyway, Caleb. And cryptos. How could we not talk about cryptos, right? I mean, they're going up nearly every day. Your readers are noticing, and your readers are now more interested. I think 20% saying they're going to be buying more cryptos this year.
Yeah, and that's up a lot. That's up from single digits, low single digits earlier in the year, but they've seen the rise of cryptocurrency. They've seen what happened to Bitcoin with 485% returns in just the past year, and they're nibbling at it. At the same time, Brian, they're scared that might be where the bubble is. Not in stocks, not necessarily in SPACs, although those are on the list too, not necessarily in high-flying IPOs. They think the bubble is in Bitcoin. They think the bubble is then in SPACs much lower, and then they think it's potentially in U.S. Residential real estate. So very interesting perception, but these are very active investors who have pretty sizable portfolios that are very engaged in the market. They've been nibbling at Bitcoin, though they think it's a little bit frothy right now.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.